It's that time again. You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper.
And I'm Carolyn Nelson.
And we're going to go right directly, first thing, to Phoenix and get the metal report from Gene Miller. Gene, are you there?
I'm here. How y'all doing?
What's happening, as if I don't know?
Yeah, well, let's see here. Gold today had a high of $386.70. Excuse me, a low of $380.90 to close at $383.80, down 10 cents. Silver had a high of $535, a low of $521 to close at $525, down 8 cents. Platinum was at had a high of $404.50 and a low of $389.90 to close at $404. Up $6.30. And the Dow had a high of 39.30, a low of 39.04 to close at 39.28, up $24. An interesting piece of news came across my desk. Actually, it was yesterday, again today also. And he's a client, and he cashed in some of his mutual funds and different paper assets and different things with the being so overly valued. He decided it was time to pull out some of that and start to protect himself, and I commend him for that. But he got a rude awakening when he went down to the bank. He had purchased some audio equipment. In fact, sounds like you'll get to meet him on the air down the road a piece. But he had purchased some things, and he put the check in the bank, to cash it. Anyhow, he wanted $10,000, and he had a $50,000 check there to cash and whatnot, and he's done business there. And he was real familiar with banking because he had been in the banking industry himself many years ago. But when it come time to get his $10,000,
they didn't have it.
They didn't have it. They didn't even have close to it. In fact, they had to scrounge around to every drawer in the whole bank to come up with about $4,800.
I told you, folks, the cash don't exist. It's not there.
It's not there. If every one of those that are listening today went down to their banks tomorrow, cash out whatever they got in there, they get a rude awakening. They couldn't have it. They'd say, sorry, we don't have it. And folks, we need to wake up. We need to I'm glad there are some people that are taking initiative and starting to protect themselves, but there are thousands of you that are listening right now that haven't done a thing. Call me tomorrow, 1-800-289.
Hey, Gene?
Yes?
Do you have call waiting?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Don't call us again unless you disable that thing, because they can't hear what you're saying out there. You're being cut off by your own call waiting.
Is that what's happening?
Yep.
I'll have to figure out a way to disable it.
No, all you got to do is call the phone company. They'll tell you how to do it. You can disable it before you make the call.
Oh, okay. Well, my apologies.
But that's terrible.
Well, I hope they didn't miss it all. Call me tomorrow, 1-800-289-2646. I'll be glad to get some information out to you, tell you what's going on, and folks, let's get started and let's get ourselves protected. Again, that's 1-800-289-2646.
Thank you, Gene. I've got some more to add to that, folks, so make sure you got a pad and pencil by your side and write this down because you're going to need to know it. The Nikkei yesterday, that's the Japanese stock exchange, dropped 484.6 points. 484.6 points. The yen is at an all-time high of 102.5 yen to the dollar. And if you know what that means, it means the dollar's worth less. Actually, it went up to 103 point something, back up to 103 point something today. But if you understand yen in comparison to the dollar, 1 yen is worth much less than a penny. So that's not much of a rise of the dollar. The Prime Minister of Japan and Clinton are going head to head. In fact, they're engaged in a brouhaha that could have world-shattering import. You see, 5 years ago, we made an agreement with Japan that within 5 years, Japan would allow Motorola to sell their cellular phones in Japan, and this was by a trade agreement, and Japan has failed to honor their part of the bargain. Well, we honored our part of the bargain, and now they're sticking it to us. So what's going to happen, folks, is right off the bat, there's going to be a huge tariff placed upon the cellular phones that Japan brings into this country, and it could kick off a trade war. If it kicks off a trade war, the Japanese are so nationalistic that the Japanese business and financial interest will pull their funds out of our bond market. If that happens, they might pull out $10 to $25 billion within the next 2 to 3 months. Unless there's some kind of resolution of this conflict. If that happens, the dollar is going to plummet. You're going to see the rug pulled right out from under the economy of the United States of America, and we're going to be in deep, deep, deep trouble. Now, believe me, the Japanese will do this. They're loyal to one thing, and one thing only, and that's Japan. So make sure that if you're in the bond market that you hedge your bonds so that this can't wipe you out. If I were you, I don't know why you'd even be in the bond market, but if you are, that's your business. Call Swiss American Trading 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-289-2646, and do it right now. Folks, I've got an old 58 Chevy that I've had for years and sort of been tinkering with and trying to restore, and boy, I've got a long way to go because I very seldom find the time to get around to it, but not too long ago, the bottom dropped out of the transmission and haven't been able to drive it. And some of our friends called today and said that they're going to take care of that, and that just gave me a good feeling. Neighbor helping neighbor, and not only that, I love that old car. I want to drive over to the Sonic Drive-In and sit in my time machine. Tonight, you're going to hear some good old music that takes us back to our roots. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Well, tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is number 9 in our Treason series. You know, I was looking at our stack of documentation, and I have to tell you, we have not even yet, I thought we had covered quite a bit of material. We haven't even started. We've done 8 hours, and we haven't even started. Tonight is hour number 9. We're going to skip ahead in time. We're going to skip ahead in time to March 11th, 1992. March 11th, 1992, from the Congressional Record of the House. Page H, 1181. March 11th, 1992, Congressional Record of the House. That's page H, 1181. By Mr. Owens of New York. Mr. Owens of New York. House Joint Resolution 438. Joint resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the United States, repealing the Second Amendment to the Constitution to the Committee on the Judiciary. And we'll go to the Congressional Record Index, page 123, and you can see that it is duly registered under Firearms Constitutional Amendment to repeal amendment relative to the right to bear arms, House Joint Resolution 438. Introduced the 11th of March, 1992. And on that day, when this legislation was introduced, on page H1168 of the Congressional Record of the House, March 11th, 1992, I quote, "The Speaker pro tempore, Ms. Pelosi, under a previous order of the House, the gentleman from New York, Mr. Owens, is recognized for 60 minutes. Mr. Owens of New York, Madam Speaker, today I've introduced a resolution which calls for the repeal of the Second Amendment to the Constitution. The Second Amendment to the Constitution reads as follows. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Madam Speaker, is the Second Amendment still necessary in 1992? And does the Second Amendment, the existence of it, give the right to the manufacturers of guns, the distributors of guns, the fanatics who must have automatic weapons of all kinds, does it provide a right to them? Madam Speaker, I have been told that the Second Amendment does not guarantee that right, but it is because the Second Amendment has been distorted and is often misquoted to mislead the American people to believe that because the Second Amendment exists, we should not and we cannot regulate the manufacture, the sale, and the distribution of guns in the United States. As a result of the notion being promulgated that we cannot regulate the sale and distribution and manufacture of guns, we have a paralysis by legislators across the country and by the Congress. Repeatedly, public opinion polls have shown that the American people do want more gun control. They want more regulation of guns. Of course, a number one issue across the nation is crime and solutions to the problem of crime. Madam Speaker, crimes of all kinds I abhor, but crime which results in the death of individuals is of particular concern and should be a particular concern to all of us. I break here to tell those of you who may have tuned in late, these are not my beliefs. This is a speech read to the House of Representatives by Mr. Owens of New York, who introduced a bill to repeal the Second Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. And I continue. The recent tragic shootings of two young persons at Thomas Jefferson High School in New York City has renewed interest in some kind of immediate urgent action to deal with guns and the gun culture. Madam Speaker, two young persons, one named Ian Moore and the other's name is Tyrone Sinkler, they happened to live in my congressional district. The tense is important here. Thomas Jefferson School is not located in the district, but these young people resided in the 12th Congressional District. Somehow, their shooting has shocked even New York City, which has too many homicides and too many guns, despite the fact that we have very tight gun control laws in both New York City and New York State. The fact is, folks, they have the tightest gun control laws. This man is suggesting that if the federal government passes the same laws that have already been passed by New York, that this will somehow stop guns from appearing on the streets of America. I'm sure that you can see the absurdity of this. If the existing laws can't do it, what makes him think that repealing the second article and amendment to the Constitution will do it? What makes any of you think that you can do it? I continue. The fact is that these youngsters were murdered in cold blood in a school. The fact is that the young man who pulled out the gun and shot them has no fear of being caught and no concern about snuffing out human life and taking his punishment subsequently. Mr. Owens, are you telling me that the liberal view that the criminal is not guilty of a crime and should not be punished is now beginning to bother you? I doubt it very seriously. You're using your rhetoric as a ploy to pull some sympathy from those who don't understand what it is that you're really saying. And I continue. In addition to the two persons being shot that day, their lives being snuffed out immediately, another young person who was a friend of theirs went home and with a gun committed suicide, took his own life. Mr. Speaker, in the space of 5 days in New York City, there were about 10 shootings. About 5 people were killed with guns. That is, in New York City, which is highly visible. They got a lot of publicity and all the world knows about it. But what my colleagues do not know about is that all around the country, in both rural communities and suburban communities, young people are taking their lives and taking each other's lives in large numbers. We know about the mass murders when automatic weapons are being taken into post office buildings and people getting revenge for various reasons have snuffed out the life of dozens of people. This is another lie, and a blatant lie, ladies and gentlemen. None of those people were using automatic weapons. They throw the term automatic weapons around to scare people. An automatic weapon is a machine gun. You pull the trigger and it keeps firing until you let go of the trigger. In case you don't know. They like to scare people with that. The truth is, you're safer if someone is shooting a machine gun at you, an automatic weapon, than if they are taking steady aim with a single-shot rifle. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Mr. Speaker, I've been invited to serve as a moderator for a panel, a teleconference entitled Challenges and Choices, Violence in the Schools. This teleconference is sponsored by the National Association of Secondary School Principals Urban Services Office. It is going to take place next Wednesday. The brochure that was sent to me starts as follows. It relates to incidents where young people were murdered or young people were guilty of murdering people in schools. In Pinellas County, Florida, for example, an assistant high school principal was killed and another administrator and teacher at that school injured by students who were armed with stolen revolvers. You understand, folks? He wants to pass a resolution, ladies and gentlemen, to repeal the second article and amendment to the Constitution, and he's citing as examples all this ridiculous baloney. And I continue. These guys stole their weapons. Stolen revolvers, ladies and gentlemen. In Garden, Kansas, 2 teachers and a junior high school principal were killed by a 14-year-old boy with an automatic rifle. That's another lie. He did not have an automatic rifle. Very few people in this entire country have an automatic rifle, and I'm going to tell you right now that no crime is on the books that has ever been committed with an automatic rifle. Do you understand that, folks? If you don't believe it, go look it up. These are buzzwords to scare you. They're blatant lies. I continue. My colleague did not hear any headlines about this, and there are numerous other incidents that are taking place all across the country that we do not read the headlines. We do not see them on television. They are not in New York City with the media present to publicize it. But it is happening all over. The culture of the gun, the culture of violence. That's another blatant lie, ladies and gentlemen. The media jumps on every incident involving any kind of a firearms weapon, and this scumbag knows it. He knows it. The fact is, if you don't see it in the media, it did not happen. Do you understand? It did not happen. He goes on to say the culture of violence has taken hold in this generation, which we could call the Rambo generation, because they are fed by films and videos that glorify violence. And I agree with that. The Rambo generation marches on to the tune, the Pied Piper, Bobo Grits. To the shock of having 2 young people murdered in high school is appropriate. And I want to break off here to remind you folks that the movies Rambo were not patterned after Bobo Grits. I talked to the people who wrote the scripts of those movies. I know where the stories came from. Had nothing to do with Bobo Grits, in fact. And if you saw any of the Rambo movies, Rambo was an enlisted man. And if you have any brains at all, you saw that the colonel was the bad guy. The colonel was the bad guy who betrayed his own men, time after movie after movie. Rambo was an enlisted man. In his first movie, he suffered from post-traumatic delayed stress syndrome. Bobo Grits is a lieutenant colonel. If the movies Rambo were patterned after Bobo Grits, then he is indeed the bad guy. How do you like that, you Bobo heads? See, Rush Limbaugh has his ditto heads, and Bobo Grits has his Bobo heads. I continue, Mr. Speaker, it means that we are one step closer to the collapse of civilization. Now he's saying that the entire civilization is going to collapse if he doesn't pass this resolution repealing the second article amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America. Now do you know why socialism sucks? It's because socialists suck. They're very, very deceptive people. Almost every other word out of their life is a lie. And yes, I meant what I said, out of their life. Life, folks. Not mouth, life. One step closer to the collapse of our society, and I tell you that the moment the guns disappear from the hands of Americans, that will signal the collapse of our society and the rise of a one-world totalitarian socialist government who will bring the Grim Reaper across the land. And if you think Stalin murdered a lot of people, you just wait and see what these people have in store for you. He says, what will happen next? We will have young people carrying guns into churches and murdering people in churches. It would be another step closer to the collapse of civilization as we know it. Well, the facts are, folks, is these people went down to a church and killed all the young people who didn't have any guns. Simply because their parents legally owned weapons, the right of which is guaranteed by the second article in Amendment to the Constitution. I'm talking about the massacre that occurred in Waco, Texas, conducted by world socialism. He goes on, what are we doing to protect our youth from senseless killing? What are we doing as adults, as parents? And most important, those people who are most responsible for how our society works. What are we doing as legislators? What an ego. He really believes that he's most responsible for how our society works, folks. The truth is the legislature is the most responsible for the destruction of our society in recent years. It has not been fulfilling its mandate at all. They're not reflecting the desires of their peers. Isn't this amazing? Are we doing all we can? Or are we wimpishly bowing to a gun lobby and not a committee? Civilized actions to be taken in order to control this manufacture, the sale, and distribution of guns. What is different? What is the difference between our society and other industrialized societies? Well, Mr. Oh my God! What an invitation, Mr. Owens. This is incredible. You don't know the difference between our society and other industrialized societies? Is that why you are trying so quickly to destroy it? You don't understand that our society was the biggest, the best, the most promising, gave us the most opportunity. We had the most freedom. We were the most affluent in the entire world, possessed the greatest technology and the penultimate of the military might that had ever existed upon the face of this earth, and you are asking what is the difference between our society and other industrialized societies? Who are the fools, Mr. Owens, who sent you to Congress? You see, it really isn't your fault. Somebody mistook you for someone with some brains, instead of recognizing you for the mental patient that you should be. And what are you people in New York doing about this twit? Or do you care? Do you even understand what's happening? Do you realize that if everybody in New York City carried a gun, the crime statistics would drop overnight and there would not be another citizen killed by one of these creeps? No, that's attributing too much reasoning power to the sheeple. The truth is, the only places where these things continuously occur are where the criminals know that the citizens do not possess weapons. The highest crime statistics in the country are in the places where they have the tightest, most restrictive gun laws, and where they have legislation which prohibits the ownership of any type of firearms. The crime rate is out of sight, far exceeds any other city, county, or state in this nation. I'm talking, Mr. Owens, about the city where you live, Washington, D.C., where you have passed just such legislation, taking the guns away from the people because they have no rights under the Constitution. And we can all see that it doesn't work, but still the stupid sheeple cry to have the guns taken off the streets, believing that this is going to solve our problems. No, folks. Holding parents responsible and accountable would begin to solve our problems. Restoring discipline to the schools. would just be a beginning to solving our problems. And he goes on to say, Japan or Germany or Great Britain or France. Why is it these industrialized societies have a far lower set of casualties as a result of gunplay? Why is it that it goes way, way down to comparisons with Great Britain and Germany and Japan? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is no comparison. You see, they've taken the authority of the way from the parents in this country and out of the schools. If you go to Japan, Germany, or Great Britain, or France, you will see that the children receive the proper discipline in the home and in the school. And in Japan, discipline, folks, is more than a way of life. It is almost a religion. Now, I doubt if Mr. Owen knows that because he's probably never been out of the country except to go to Washington, D.C. and then back to New York. But I've lived in Japan. I've been to France, I've been to Germany, and I've been to Great Britain. They also have a long, long history of tradition, of respect for their elders and their peers. Something that's being quickly eroded in this country. In this country we are exposed to hour after hour after hour of violence. If you take a small child and raise him in that environment, or her, they begin to believe that that is the way that their problems should be solved, and that is the way that the world conducts its business. The truth, as we all know, is quite different. We also know, ladies and gentlemen, that the statistics tell a quite different story than what this man, Mr. Owens, is propounding to his fellow congressmen. He goes on to say that these societies are able and willing to control the manufacture, distribution, and sale of guns, and this society is not. That's true, folks. In Japan, Germany, Great Britain, and France, none of the law-abiding citizens have weapons, except in some instances hunting weapons, shotguns, small caliber rifles, which are registered and are strictly controlled. But the criminals, you see, have every type of gun that you can imagine. And they always will. And that, dear sheeple, is the truth. He goes on to say the savage, barbaric behavior of a young man who whips out a pistol and shoots dead 2 students in a high school is horrendous. These pauses are caused, folks, because I'm having a problem with the irrepressible urge to cough. Don't go away. We're going to take a little break. Well, I'm going to have to take it easy. I hate to have to take it easy because some things, you can't see me, so the voice has to convey what I'm trying to get across, what I feel. And if I can't do that, then the message gets a little distorted, folks. But I'm going to try, without breaking anything or straining anything, to continue and take it easy here. See if I can manage that. And if I start feeling that familiar tickle again, you can hear a little bit of music again while I sip a little orange juice and suck on a lozenge. So I'll take some of the, I'm going to go ahead, instead of reading all of this, I'm going to read some of the pertinent points. He says, failing to respond, the members of Congress and any other state legislatures or city legislatures are equally as savage and equally as barbaric if they do not take steps to use their power to control the manufacture, sale, and distribution of guns. I say that if they do, They're traitors. Traitors. You see, because if the second article and amendment is correct, if it is correct, ladies and gentlemen, and I know that it is, because all I have to do is look at history. If it is correct, and it means what it says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, do you understand what that says? It says a free state cannot exist unless a well-regulated militia exists. It says it is absolutely necessary to the security of a free state. Now, state does not mean the federal government, ladies and gentlemen. State means just that, the state of Arizona, the state of California, the state of Illinois. And all you have to do is look in the definition of terms pertaining to the Constitution to find out. Listen to what our forefathers said. Read what they wrote. You see, they never intended the federal government to become a state. It is, in fact, unconstitutional for Washington, D.C. to ever become a state, yet they're pushing for it. And if it becomes a reality, it's just another proof that there is no Constitution, ladies and gentlemen. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. They're saying that without a well-regulated militia, no free state can exist. And to guarantee it, they give us the right to keep and bear arms. And they don't give it to the government. They don't give the right to the National Guard or to the military. In fact, all of these things are illegal under the Constitution. Were you aware of that? And that's another proof. You see, our forefathers put into place mechanisms to prevent the United States from ever having a standing army. In fact, the only legal military force that exists in the United States of America under the Constitution, where it in effect is the United States Navy. All other standing armies and military forces, no matter what they're called, are illegal under the Constitution. They are in fact unconstitutional. The militia, according to the law and according to the definition of our forefathers, is the whole people. The law breaks it down further and says all able-bodied men and boys who are able to carry and fire a weapon between the ages of 17 and 43. How about that? Does that get your dander up? See, most of you have never heard these things before, never knew them. I know that most of you can read, but you never looked. You've never bothered to find out. It's amazing that the things we pretend to care most about, we know nothing about. Don't even make the slightest effort to find out about. That bothers me a lot. An awful lot. He says, quote, I have offered this resolution to repeal the Second Amendment very seriously, unquote. And he goes on, and the need to control the sale, manufacture, and distribution of guns in our society. Polls have clearly shown that 75 to 85% of the people want some form of gun control, but we do not have gun control, except to a very limited extent. That's not true, folks. 85% of the people do not want gun control. That is a lie. But one might be tempted to think that if one were to read the papers every day and listen to the news on television and watch the silly, stupid lies. You see, there is no poll that has ever shown that 85% of the people want some form of gun control. This man is a consummate liar. And for those of you listening in New York, he represents you. Doesn't that bother you? If he lies about this, he'll lie about everything. The truth is, all socialists lie continuously all the time. That's the only way they can win, folks. On that, Rush Limbaugh is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. He called that shot absolutely, perfectly, 100% right. Socialists are consummate, perpetual, habitual liars. And he says, but we do not have gun control except to a very limited extent because a small group of intense gun fanatics, listen to this, a small group of intense gun fanatics have perverted the democratic process through threats and intimidation of any public figure who dares to speak for and vote for what the overwhelming majority of the people want. Mr. Owens, you wouldn't know the truth if it hit you in the face. I'll say it again, you're a liar. You're scum. You should never have been allowed to represent anyone. I doubt if most of the people you represent even know that you are twisting the truth and perpetrating these fantasies. Listen to this. A small group of intense gun fanatics, people who care about this country, care about maintaining our freedoms, are now gun fanatics. Do you know that patriotism has become a dirty word now? Simply because of the slant that patriotic rallies and patriotism and patriots have been portrayed with in the news media. Most people are afraid to say, I am a patriot. Scared to death, in fact. It has become politically incorrect because of idiots like Mr. Owens. Idiots. Mr. Owens, I publicly invite you to appear on this broadcast the hour of the time and debate me face to face. I don't think you have the guts. I'd say something else, but we might have some women listening out there. I don't think you have what it takes. I think you're a sniveling little lying coward, and I issue this challenge, and I will send you a copy of the broadcast of this program. And I will, of course, reveal your reply to the American people over this broadcast and to the people of the world, because you are exactly what I say you are. You will not appear here with facts and figures. You will appear with lies if you have the guts to appear, and I know already that you don't, because I will have the facts and figures and the truth to confront you with. And your lies will not stand up for 10 seconds flat. This is a worldwide broadcast, Mr. Owens. And I do not issue this challenge frivolously. I will literally put you out of the running of any future political aspirations that you ever have if you dare to appear on this program. And we will make hundreds of copies of the tapes and distribute them in your district all over the state of New York, so that your constituents can hear what a silly fool they've placed in Congress. Also, Mr. Owens, a non-response will be considered total, abject surrender. He says here, the Second Amendment is unnecessary in 1992. Why 1992, folks? Why not 1981? Why not 2001? Why not in 1872? Why? Ladies and gentlemen, has the world changed? Has the nature of man changed? Is the world at peace? We have no enemies? No one would want to do away with us? But according to Mr. Owens, the Second Amendment is unnecessary in 1992. The purpose of the Second Amendment is to assure the people's right to bear arms in a well-regulated militia. Nobody would dream of interfering with the use of guns by the National Guard, the Armed Forces Reserves, which is our well-regulated militia. Mr. Owens, again, you are a liar. That's not true. It is, in fact, a blatant lie. The United States Senate has ruled that no branch of the military consists or makes up what is known as the militia. The United States Senate has ruled that the National Guard is not the militia. The United States Senate passed a resolution, which I will read on the air in the coming days, which quite simply states that the militia is made up of the whole people. The whole people. You see, you should consult your colleagues before you make stupid statements like this. And of course it is stupid because you're closer to the source of it than I am. How come I know this and you don't, Mr. Owens? You're supposed to be representing us. And yet me, way out here in Arizona, far, far from the center of government, knows the law better than you do. And I would venture to say I probably know the law better than most of those who pretend to represent us. He goes on to say, listen to this, folks. Oh boy, here he just throws his whole argument right out the window. He says, and I quote, "And the right of that kind of well-regulated militia is protected and understood without this amendment being in place." Certainly is, because the law protects it. The law protects it because that amendment is in place. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. What's more amazing is that you people in New York sent this blithering idiot to represent you, and you don't even know what he's doing in Congress. I guarantee that most, if not all of you listening from the state of New York never even knew that this man was doing this in Congress, making these asinine statements, and furthermore, I doubt if you even knew that this man had introduced a resolution to repeal the second article and amendment to the United States Constitution, which is the only thing in this entire world that has kept Americans free and will keep Americans free. And the moment that that right is gone and guns are taken away, and I don't care how many laws you pass, you will not take the guns away from the majority of the American people. I can assure you, you might take some bullets away in a dead body to the morgue, but you will not take the guns out of the hands of the majority of the American people, Mr. Owens. I can't understand, with all the socialist countries existing in this world, where these people could go and live in a government, in a repressive society that they love and enjoy, why they don't do it. Why are they hell-bent on destroying this country? Why are they hell-bent on taking the freedoms away from Americans? Mr. Owens, I'm sure that with your great, wonderful talent for socialist propaganda, that Mr. Castro would welcome you into his government and probably would give you a raise. Yes, he'd probably give you a raise. You'd probably get 2 loaves of bread a month instead of 1. And I would love to see you go. In fact, Mr. Owens, I will pay your way. I will pay your way first class by any conveyance you so desire. I don't care if I have to work the rest of my life to pay for it. I will pay for it. If you love socialism so much, if you want to be in a place where the people have no freedoms, if you want to be somewhere where no one can own weapons, I, Mr. Owens, will happily, me, all by myself, will pay your way by whatever convenience or conveyance, first-class passage, with all the amenities and any extras that you want to spend, even if I have to work the rest of my life to do it. To any socialist nation on the face of this earth that you wish to move to and live in. And I mean that, folks. I don't say anything unless I mean it. I will do it if Mr. Owens takes me up on it, which he won't. You see, all of these socialists really love living here in the freedom that we have. They don't even understand what they're really helping to bring about. And when they do, they will be the first to cry and whimper and beg for the rest of them to save them and restore their freedoms, because that's what they've always done throughout history. I love it. Actually, I don't. Actually, I really don't. But sometimes it makes me laugh. And sometimes, folks, it makes me cry, to tell you the truth. He says here, "So I would hope that those members who are interested and have gotten the information will join me in offering this resolution to repeal the Second Amendment. I hope also we will take whatever steps are necessary long before the Second Amendment finds its way onto the floor of Congress to end the savage and barbaric proliferation of guns in our society." Oh boy. Then he introduces a newspaper article. And it says, "If nothing else," says Owens, "perhaps his resolution will start a useful discussion about the urgent need for stronger gun control laws." Down here he says most nations that are industrialized do have tight control over the manufacture, sale, and distribution of guns. That's correct, folks. And wherever they have that, the people have almost no freedoms. How many of you really believe that the people who live in Great Britain are free? I've been there. Many other people have been there. Some of the listeners of this program live there. Some of them are English citizens. Some of them are American citizens who live in England. Some of them are from other countries who live in England. I can tell you from my experience, talking to the English people on their own soil, they do not like the government under which they live. Complete, utter British socialism. It sucks just like socialism sucks everywhere else in the world, and the people are not happy. They are not happy. If you don't believe it, you just get your little button gear and hop on a plane, fly right over there, and you'll find out. Talk to someone who lives there. We just had visitors here. Marcus McLean. Our friend Haley Mills was just here. Stayed with us several days. If you know who these people are, you know that they're English citizens. You know, she works very hard. She's a very good actress. One of the best, in fact. And she makes good money. And you know what happens to most of the money she makes because she lives in England? Most of it is taken away by the government in taxes. Do you know that they even have a tax bracket in England where you could be required to pay 110% of your income in taxes? Did you know that anybody is used to making the kind of money that the upper middle class makes in this country are taxed 75-80% of what they make? Were you aware of this? And this is what you want for the United States of America? This Mr. Owens wants to live under socialism, where the government would take most of what he makes in taxes so that socialism could give him back all the benefits that he could have purchased with that money. And he is one of those congressmen who voted for this huge pay raises that they've been voting themselves in recent years. Now, how do they rectify this in their minds? If they want socialism, if they want total, complete government, which controls everything, administers everything, takes care of everything, ensures that you have clothing and a job and everything else, how can they rectify this great question, this dichotomy? They want this, they know they're not going to have any money, yet they keep voting themselves pay raise as if they're addicted to money. Socialists have never made sense in the history of the world, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't think they're about to start now, do you? Absolutely amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back on satellite, Galaxy 3. I'll give you the particulars tomorrow, beginning on March 1st. I believe it's March 1st, whatever the first weekday is in March. We will start on satellite, Galaxy 3. It's a better satellite than we were on before, on the Omega Radio Network. The Omega Radio Network. Also, the BBS is back online. If you're a CAGI member, you will have to sign in all over again, just as if you had never signed in before. You will have to leave a message to the SysOp stating your membership status. Your status will then be looked up, and your clearance will be upgraded. There is a public section for people who are not CAGI members, where they have the conference of their own and a file area of their own. Right now, there's nothing in the public file area, but we want you, the public, to rectify that. And we will be putting files in that area also. And in the CAGI section, there is an email section, private emails to send letters back and forth. The switch in the BBS that allows the SysOp to read private mail has been disabled. So your private mail will really be private on this BBS, and it'll probably be the only BBS in the world where nobody else will read your private mail but you. Now, I have to tell you this because it's the law. If we return that switch to its other position, the sysop would be able to read the private mail. Now, I'm going to tell you we're not going to do that, but if you're prudent, the law requires us to tell you that, and you have to understand that at any time we could do that. The BBS number is 602-333-4578. 602-333-4578. I'm going to be giving out some other information here in the next few days in the later show tonight, so just remember that, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll see you tonight at 10. We'll continue where we left off here. It's 10 Mountain, 9 Pacific, 11 Central, and midnight Eastern Standard Time. Good night, and God bless you all. Much to the chagrin of worldwide socialism, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. You're listening to The Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper.
And I'm Carolyn Nelson.
And, folks, I was wondering when some of you were going to catch on. We're starting to get calls from people who are watching Bo Greitz's Spike video very carefully, and they're beginning to see the light. I'm not going to tell you what's there, folks. I'm just going to let you... we're going to see how many intelligent people out there have been listening to this program and can spot the symbology of the mystery religion of Babylon. You see, even Greitz laughs at you. I think it's hilarious. But some people are catching on. They're calling us and telling us what they found. And it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. What happened to that fax? Where is it? Oh.
So interesting.
I've been infiltrated.
So interesting.
I got to read you something that's extremely important here. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got to know this. And pay attention. Write this down. If you don't have pen and paper, get it now. Right now. I don't know why I have to tell you that every night. Every night. Every night, somebody's sitting out there with no paper, no pen.
Oh, wait a minute now. Most people now, when they telephone, they have paper and pen right with them.
Good. That's good, folks. Yeah, I know. I'm just talking to the sheeple that haven't learned yet, trying to bring it home to them. Because invariably, they hear something that they wish they'd written down, and they call Carolyn and say, I didn't get that when you said it. Listen to this. Write it down. Take action. Another one of your freedoms is at stake here. We don't have many left, you know. U.S. Congress is attempting, folks, to impose teacher certification requirement on home schools and private schools. The freedom of virtually all home schoolers is at stake. Now, I'm telling you, if Congress imposes teacher certification on home schools, essentially all homeschoolers will lose their freedom to teach their own children, and you know what that means. Me personally, I don't care what kind of laws they pass, they will not stop me from teaching my child the truth, nor will my child attend their brainwashing facilities. Will not happen. And they have no jurisdiction over me because they have declared war upon me and they have destroyed my country. But I want everybody to take action on this. We have to fight the battle every way that we can fight it for as long as we can fight it. House Resolution 6. House Resolution 6 is the reauthorization of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. The bill is over 700 pages long. 700 pages long. You must get it and read it. House Resolution 6. It's an extensive and dangerous increase of federal control over all forms of education, public, private, and home schools. Now, we've been advised that this bill will be on the floor of the House on February the 24th, so time is of the essence. Time is of the essence. You know, this is the 16th. 8 more days, folks. Which means you have to start calling now, call all day tomorrow, call every day. Call as many times as you can. Call repeatedly. Don't just call once. Call 40 times if you can get through. Write. Fax. Telegram. If you can, go personally to see your congressman and your senator and beat on their desk, yell in their face. Don't listen to all this radio Freemasonry crap. Be nice to your congressman. They're not nice to you. Tell them like it is. Tell it like it is. Tell them you're mad and let them see that you're angry. Beat on their desk. And if they call the guards and they haul you away, that's okay. I bet you got the point across. And getting angry is not against the law, folks. Yet, that's right. Maybe tomorrow. The provision in the bill which would require teacher certification is Section 2124E. That's Section 2124E. It's a recent amendment by Representative George Miller, Democrat, of course, from California. Of course, the People's Republic is always stirring up the pot. The People's Republic of California has sent George Miller, Democrat, to the Congress to put Section 2124E in the bill to make sure that you can't homeschool your kids. It says, assurance. Each state applying for funds under this title shall provide the Secretary with the assurance that after July the 1st, 1998, it will require each local educational agency within the state to certify that each full-time teacher in schools under the jurisdiction of the agency is certified to teach in the subject area to which he or she is assigned. Now, the definitions of elementary school and secondary school, folks, include the word nonprofit. This changes the federal definition of schools to clearly include private and home schools. Remember what we told you about the meaning of words. They don't mean what you think they mean. In many cases, they mean something entirely different. In this case, it includes private and home schools, simply because they have that phrase nonprofit in there. Now, watch how they do this. Remember what I've taught you about socialism? Socialists need a daddy. Daddy's got to provide everything. Daddy's got to change their diaper. Daddy's got to give them lunch money. Daddy's got to make sure that they have a car to drive and all this bullshit. Listen to the first line, folks. Remember what I told you? Remember how it's done? Whoever gives a benefit is entitled to control. Understand that. And I'll tell you something. If you can't pay to educate your own kids in your own state, then you're not worth very much in my estimation. Why are you accepting funds from the federal government? Where do you think the funds come from, dummies? Listen to this. Assurance. Each state applying for funds under this title shall provide the Secretary with the assurance that after July 1st, 1998, it will require each local educational agency within the state to certify that each full-time teacher in schools under the jurisdiction of the agency is certified to teach in the subject area to which he or she is assigned. Each state applying for funds under this title, each state applying for funds under this title, each little child asking daddy for an allowance. Wake up, babies. Want to be 21? Want to go drink a beer? Want to come in after midnight? Want to be free? Pay your own way. Pay your own way, dummies. The money either originally comes out of your pocket, makes this big round circle through the federal government, during which time it loses much of its value and comes back to you, and you think it's free. You think you're getting something for nothing from Big Daddy federal government. And if it doesn't come from your state, then it's borrowed from the Federal Reserve banks, and you have to pay back not only what's borrowed, but the interest, dummies. Free, huh? Yeah, the federal government is going to improve your educational system by giving you funds and telling you what to do. You better stop this. Get on it. Get on it. H.R. 6, House Resolution 6. Will be on the floor of the House on February the 24th as it's scheduled right now. Call every talk show host in the world. Get this out. Tell everybody to call. Congressman Dick Armey, Republican, Texas, proposed the following amendment, ladies and gentlemen. quote, "Nothing in this title shall be construed to authorize or encourage federal control over the curriculum or practices of any private, religious, or home school." This proposed amendment was rejected. It was rejected by a straight party line vote. All Democrats voted against this amendment, and all Republicans voted for it. Now, why would Democrats vote against an amendment so that there's no federal control over the curriculum or practices of any private, religious, or home school? Well, folks, you should be able to answer that by yourself, so I won't tell you. I will trust you to know. Well, somebody will call after the show and ask why. Well, they could argue that homeschoolers were not intended to be included. However, in light of the rejection of the Army Amendment, in other words, they all voted against it, and the definition of school, then we know that it does. Now, Homeschool Private School Freedom Amendment has been submitted, folks, and it provides 1. Nothing in the Act shall be construed to permit, allow, encourage, or authorize any federal involvement with or control over any aspect of private schools, religious schools, or home schools. Such federal involvement of control is expressly prohibited. This prohibition shall pertain to every federal statute, law, or regulation which does not expressly reference this section and make an exception thereto. 2. No federal funds allocated under this Act shall be used by any state agency, local educational agency, or any other agency of government for the purpose of monitoring, controlling, regulating, or supervising any private school, religious school, or home school, except to the extent expressly required by this Act relative to federal funds received by students attending such private school, religious school, or home school. As used anywhere in this Act, the term school shall mean a public school and shall not include private school, religious school, or home school unless specifically stated otherwise. Folks, my home school has just become a tutelage, and I have just become a tutor. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, and I'll be right back after this short pause. Yeah, you do your thing and we'll do ours. You ought to see Carolyn dancing around this studio. It's incredible. Here we go, folks. These are remarks of the Honorable Lawrence H. Smith of Wisconsin in the House of Representatives, Wednesday, May 4th, 1955. 1955. Mr. Smith of Wisconsin, Mr. Speaker, there are people in our country today who would surrender our national sovereignty to a fictitious form of world government. That's the first sentence. Just to pique your interest, from the Congressional Record Appendix. Congressional Record Appendix, May 4th, 1955, page A3016. Page A3016. Under leave to extend my remarks, I am including an article that appears in the current issue of the American Legion magazine by Zane B. Thurston, What You Should Know About World Government. At its National Convention, 1951 National Convention, the American Legion adopted a resolution which said in part, "We reiterate our opposition to the participation of the United States in any form of world federation, world government, or in any intermediate federative organization which would in whole or in part involve the sacrifice of sovereignty of the United States." The Legion again amplified this strong opposition in a resolution at its 1954 National Convention. In so doing, the Legion has rendered a great service to our constitutional republic by calling our attention to the inherent dangers of the world government notion. It is well to establish at the outset that an idealistic and nebulous abstraction hovering in the minds of intellectual daydreamers. It is very real. It is high-powered, and it is a liberally financed movement, supported by many groups here and abroad, dedicated to the task of creating a federal union of the world. My personal interest in the world government idea, over and above the prompting of my natural religious and patriotic instincts, stems from the fact that one of its main protagonists is a fellow townsman. Indeed, much of the spade work which has been done in this country was done less than 2 miles from my home at the so-called Dublin Conference in early 1945. 1945. Did you hear that, folks? 1945. The climax of the work at these conferences and since will be the attempt by the United World Federalists Incorporated, one of the most powerful groups pressing for world government in this country, to expedite their plan of transforming the United Nations into a world government when its charter comes up for amendments in July of this year. It is not my purpose to analyze, criticize the many specifications, requirements, provisions, and restrictions of the various world government schemes which the American Legion obviously considers to be inimical to the continued sovereignty and independence of our constitutional republic. Rather, I shall dwell upon those inherent contradictions, fake promises, and ridiculous notions that render the theory of world government unoperable and impracticable in itself. The avowed supreme goal of world government advocates is the creation of a federal government embracing all the nations of the world. This they consider to be the only conceivable way to establish and preserve world peace. Extremely vocal prior to and during the World War II and in the late 40s, they found expression in such organizations as Federal Union Incorporated, the Atlantic Union Committee, the United World Federalists Incorporated, and various other lesser groups. Before any valid argument can be made against the theory, the best possible case for the opposition must be fairly and objectively established and can best be accomplished by quoting directly from their literature, speeches, and public pronouncements. Folks, that's always the best way, because they always lie, and they always have their facts wrong, and they always tinker with statistics. For instance, in the total of number of people killed by handguns in the United States are criminals killed by police officers in the performance of their duties. Last night, when I read to you the speech of Mr. Owens from New York proposing a resolution to repeal the second article and amendment of the Constitution, we talked about a boy who had stolen a handgun and had killed a bunch of people. Well, what Mr. Owens didn't tell you, folks, is that the father of that boy was a police officer, and the handgun that he stole was his father's service revolver. Chihuahua. I think I'll go to Mexico, too. Oh, sometimes this is so hilarious, I just can't stand it. Oh, boy. I wonder if, well, never mind. It's amazing. I continue. A brochure entitled, "Let's Not Make the Same Mistake Twice," published by Federal Union Incorporated, very aptly states their reason for existence, and can be fairly presented as representing the motivations of all world government agitators, even though not all would subscribe to the Federal Union plan. The brochure, in effect, says, quote, in fact, it says verbatim, quote, "After the war will come something called peace." Oh, you please forgive me, folks, but these socialists can be. You ever sit down and watch a 2-year-old kid play and they just crack you up? You're just laughing every 5 minutes. Well, that's what happens when you watch socialists at work too, because they are 2-year-old children. I got to read this again because my whole train of thought, everything is just wiped out. The brochure says, quote, "After the war will come something called peace, and it is equally the duty of every American to bear in mind that the fate of democracy and our own future will depend not alone on the outcome of the war, but on the outcome of that peace also."
Piece of cake.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Carolyn?
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake is right. Devil's food cake, as a matter of fact. Oh, boy. And you notice they use the word democracy. Socialists have never understood what a republic is. They've never referred to this nation as a republic. You see, the Soviet Union was a democracy. Cuba is a democracy. This is not a democracy. This is a republic. Dear socialists, a republic, mind you. Oh, boy. Will depend upon the outcome of the peace. We need a peace aim, no less than a war aim, for victory. We helped to win the last war. We lost the peace. Now we are at the crossroads again. Why? Because you socialists won't keep your fingers out of everybody's business. That's why. Dummies. Unbelievable. Carolyn's cracking up so much she can't even breathe over here. We lost the peace. We didn't lose anything, folks. We didn't lose a thing. We didn't have any business in either one of those wars. Now we're at the crossroads again. Why? Do we, the free peoples of the earth, know where we expect to go? Have we a plan to attain an orderly, peaceful, prosperous world based on freedom? Up until now, the answer has been no. But there is an answer now. Federal union is such a belief. Federal union is a faith in an expanding democracy and in an expanding, embracing democratic way of life for the whole world. Now, translated, that means, folks, that we don't like the way you guys live in all the different countries in the world, and what we're going to do is we're going to snatch you up, slap down your sovereign boundaries, and we're going to force you to be a part of the United Nations whether you want to be or not. We're going to force you to be free in our world democracy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we ain't having none of that Bill of Rights stuff, you Americans, you see. You know, we're going to take care of you. No matter who you are, what you do, whether you're hungry or not, we're going to feed you. And even if your diaper's clean, we're still going to change it. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I wonder what it would be like if all the socialists had to live together in one spot. And there was nobody else there, just them. What would they do? What would they do, folks? I would love to see some kind of an experiment like that. I think it would be hilarious. The organ outlines a strong but flexible union composed of the English-speaking democracies to be open to other nations as they develop or restore democratic rights, whatever that means. It further proposes that the Union would guarantee every citizen the individual rights set forth in our Bill of Rights, the rights of free men. Now, we know that that's false because in the United Nations there is no Bill of Rights. They have never attempted to create any Bill of Rights, and in all the charters and so-called proposed constitutions of the world federalists, there has never been any Bill of Rights, proposals for bills of rights, adoption of our Bill of Rights, nor any concern about individual freedoms whatsoever. It's all about the individual must suffer for the good of the whole. And even if we end up with a state that's supreme and only one human being on this earth, it will be better than the world is now. And the state will be supreme over that one human being. And we'll take care of that human being and feed him and change his diaper and give him a job.
And there'll be no aggression.
That's right. And if there is, the state will smack down that one lone left remaining human being. And then finally, the great socialist totalitarian state will reign supreme over all the world in all its lonely glory, and humanity will disappear from the face of the earth. Oh, I'm taking a little freedom here, folks, but you know what? We have to inject some humor into this sometimes. And I know that there's some socialist out there scratching his head saying, "That's not funny."
Yeah. Well, what they give us isn't funny either.
That's right. We're fixing to give it all back to them. Only, you know what? I think every socialist in the world should be given an enema tomorrow at 6 a.m. I think that would give them a completely different outlook for the rest of the day anyway. What do you think, folks? Well, maybe I should get serious. Let me see, where we get? Oh, here we go. Going to guarantee everybody everything. And it graciously suggests that it be abandoned for something better if something better can be found. I can't believe that. Here they're saying that what they propose is better than anything that there ever was, and it's got to be, and then they're saying, they suggest that it be abandoned for something better if something better can be found. I didn't know that socialists recognize that there could be anything better. That's promising anyway. Not being a true world government plan, that is, not including all the nations of the world, this plan has been forced into oblivion by a larger and more aggressive group, the United World Federalists Incorporated, the main contenders in the world government arena of this country today. Now remember, that was in 1955, folks. Each prominent figures, as former Senator Robert G. Hendrickson of New Jersey shouted for world government, making an impassioned plea on the floor of the Senate in July 1949. He called for the ratification of the Atlantic Pact, eventual Atlantic Federal Union, and ultimate world government. Owen J. Roberts, retired Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Robert J. Patterson, former Secretary of War, Harold I. looks like his former Secretary of the Interior, Will L. Clayton, Joseph C. Grew, William Phillips, and Robert Woods Blass, all former Undersecretaries of State, were all officers of the aforementioned Atlantic Union Committee Incorporated. That side of the page, for folks on the left, I guess the page was bent a little bit in the copier, and it was very difficult to read, so I hope you understand why I was pausing in inappropriate places. This committee sponsored Senate Concurrent Resolution 4, House Concurrent Resolution 26, with the active support of 28 senators and 84 congressmen. The resolution stated that whereas federal union in this country had secured prosperity and abundance for Americans, the President be requested to invite the democracies which sponsored the North Atlantic Treaty to a convention to explore the possibilities of forming within the framework of the United Nations the principles of free federal union, the avowed end result of which was to establish an Atlantic Federal Union as a necessary first step toward ultimate world government. And they did it, folks, and it was called NATO. NATO. The same United Nations police force that's operating in Europe and Bosnia right this moment. Well, it is, once again, that time. We must go for a short break. Don't go away, folks. We'll be right back after this very short pause. Yes, we shall be free. We will. Folks, I went out today and put in my order, so I know mine is secure. Now, you better do the same before Monday night, because after Monday night, you will not be able to find one in the entire country. And I'm telling you right now, we were only able to find 5, and I've got one of them. I've got one of them. If this country were invaded and occupied by an enemy force intending to enslave the American people and destroy the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, you might consider wanting to own a sniper weapon, one of the best there is. Now, I'm telling you right now, the best there is only in a few hands, and you can't go buy it anywhere. at all. You can't. In other words, you have to make it yourself, and Monday we're going to tell you how to do that. We're going to tell you how to do it, folks. And it's only to be used in defense of the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and our freedoms. But you see, we're going to give away the secrets on Monday, and you're not going to be able to find what you need in order to have one. So I'm going to tell you right now, don't delay, don't stop, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Don't procrastinate, because you will not find one after Monday night, and you may not find one after tonight. But you need a caliber .375 rifle with the longest barrel that you can get, with the best action that you can find. H&H is an excellent example. Weatherby is a good example. Anything coming from Belgium is good. These are rare because they're big game rifles. Now, you're not going to understand why I'm telling you this until Monday night. Monday night, it will all be made clear. So, if you want the best rifle in the world that you can possibly have to defend your country at some future date, should it become necessary to do so, by modifying the rifle completely, 100% legally, in fact, to be able to reach out to 1,500 yards. We can't hit 1,700 because that action's gone. But we can get you out to 1,500 yards, folks. 1,500 yards. Think about it. You need a .375 caliber rifle with the longest barrel you can find and the best action, from a company that has a reputation for building accurate firearms. Monday night, we'll tell you the rest of the story. In the meantime, you're going to need to protect the declining value of your dollar. Have you been watching the news lately? Somebody must have listened to my shows recently, because now they're parroting what I told you, and nobody said it before I did. Remember, nobody said it before I did. What's coming with this trade war with Japan, it's building. Things are going to get hot, it looks like. Remember, folks, socialists suck, and that's why socialism sucks. It's destructive, takes away your dignity, takes away everything. Remember how you felt as a kid? You felt like you weren't anybody. Couldn't wait to get out of the house and be free. Well, that was mild compared to socialism. Very, very, very mild. Well, we're going to go to the phones. You've heard it. Read it to you tonight. That was how NATO began. That was the first steps toward forming NATO, which was going to be one of the first steps, besides the United Nations, toward world government. It is, in fact, NATO. NATO did, in fact, unite the military forces, and through the military forces, the governments of Europe, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, preparing for world government. Good evening, you're on the air. Hello. Boy, I'll tell you what, during that first half hour, you just called and called and called and called, and when we finally put you on the air, you just ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. 602-333-2174. Folks, if you haven't got the guts to talk, don't bother calling. And if you can't wait for a couple of minutes when we put you on hold, don't bother calling. You're just wasting our time, and you're wasting yours. Good evening, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Bill Cooper. It's Maury in Tucson.
Hello.
I think I have a news flash that you may not have heard of I'd like to pass along to you.
Go ahead.
The Arizona Graham County Sheriff.
I said it last night.
Okay, that's great. Are you aware that there's going to be a meeting of sheriffs in Phoenix tomorrow, run by Bob Corbin of the NRA, and they're going to try to get all the sheriffs to be plaintiffs on Sheriff Mack's suit.
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Did you hear that, folks? I was saving that toward the end of the program. But there's a meeting taking place tomorrow. All the sheriffs in the state of Arizona are meeting to become co-plaintiffs on the suit filed by the Graham County Sheriff against the United States government. And it looks like that all the sheriffs in the state of Arizona are not going to enforce the Brady Bill. Told you, folks. We got it together out here pretty much, except for the Freemasons down in Phoenix, who named it Phoenix, who named it the Valley of the Sun, who called it the Sun Devil Stadium, and the Phoenix team is called the Suns. But they pretty much stay there. You see, we got them surrounded. Except for Navajo County Sheriff is a 32nd degree Freemason. We also know that he has been spending money on FEMA uniforms and other things to help bring about the New World Order. And I think the people in Navajo County are fixing to wake up to this and boot that Mr. Butler right out on his butler, I guess. So how about that? Are you still there? He's gone. Okay, 602-333-2174. If you live in Navajo County in the state of Arizona, get rid of Butler. He's a 32nd degree Freemason. He is conspiring with the federal government to take away your rights. He's already spent money on FEMA uniforms. And he lies a lot. Good evening, you're on the air.
Hello, Bill.
Hello.
Hey, I made it through on the computer. Did real well.
Good.
It must have been a phone problem last night.
Yeah?
Bill, I was able to get a hold of a copy of Vampire 2000, but I can't get anybody that knows anything more than just what's in the pamphlet. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
What's there to elaborate? It's what you've been learning and hearing on this show.
That's true, but is...
only you hear it in more detail, and you heard it a lot before they ever printed that on this show.
Okay. Well, I've only been on the show about 2 months.
Uh-huh.
And
it's pretty self-explanatory. What do you want to know?
Well, that's my point exactly. Living out east, I'm the only one that has a copy, and it seems to be only picked up in the southwest, and nobody out in the east is picking it up, and I'm wondering why.
You got a copy shop nearby?
Well, I've got 3 or 4 copies. I can't hand them out. Everybody hands them back.
I can't help that. A fool is a fool every day of the week.
I was just wondering if there was, if you had any more activity on that could be...
activity on what?
On Vampire 2000, if there was any more than what I just had, the pamphlet itself.
No, I'm not involved in it.
Okay. The sheriff's... I forgot the endorsements on the bottom of it. They are legitimate. Soon. I can't find out from anyone here.
Well, what difference would it make? Our admonition is to listen to everybody, read everything. Start your own project of research. And once you do that, you're going to find out more than you'll ever read in there or in my book or any place else, for that matter. And then you can write your own Vampire 2000.
Yeah, well, I understand. I think you're missing my point, and I see your point.
Well, I've been trying to get what your point is.
Point is, I can't find enough about it, or just like your show's the only one that's coming forward, okay?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some insights on some help on how to get this thing out other than just walking up and handing it to people.
Well, I don't know any other way unless you want to mail it to people or unless you got a network of friends that want to help. But you can't force anybody to take anything,
Well, you can say that again.
About the most you can do is to try to encourage them to listen to shortwave, and sooner or later they might respond.
Are you there?
Yeah. I took my radio up to a place that I hang out at a tool and die shop today, and they didn't want to hear a tape from you last night. I took Vampire 2000, laid it on the table up there for a month, and it was never touched.
Well, I got one piece of advice for you if that's the case. If everybody living around you is that kind of a person, you know what my advice is?
I'm listening.
Move quick. Relocate.
Gosh,
find some real people and go live with them.
We talked about that last week.
Well, put that plan into action. Thank you for calling.
All right, thanks, Bill.
602-333-2174 is the number. And later on the program tonight, we're going to get into the executive order starting about 1917, actually, and go right up as far as we can go during that hour. And I would suggest you to, by the way, tonight, the first half hour was number 10 in the Treason series. The later show tonight will be number 11. Good evening, you're on the air.
Yeah, last night you were talking about picking up night vision from the former Soviet Union. Highly recommend against it. It leaks light. Even though they call it passive, through the late model U.S. stuff, it glows at night. And it targets you something horrendous. Just wanted to pass that on.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
I think there's something extremely suspicious about all this Soviet stuff being made available to American citizens anyway. Everything that I have is that would possibly give me away has been checked, double-checked, triple-checked, and can't do it. So, but that was a good call. Thank you. Good evening. You're on the air.
Oh, William?
Yes.
How are you tonight?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
First time I called you, I wanted to thank you for your almost casual mention, probably of maybe the first thing I've heard about a turnaround. I'm kind of the mindset of survival. It was interesting. I was cleaning my Accurized 30-06 caliber, which isn't bad at a few hundred yards. When you mentioned the sheriff from Graham County, Arizona, I called all the local radio stations, and he got booked, I understand now, quite extensively down here to be on the air. So it looks like that you, sir, and my hats off to you, have let a major cat out of the bag. You know, all we've been hearing about on the waste of time news media is griping politicians, weenie whackers, and ice skaters. You know?
So quit watching it. Quit listening to it.
Well, I don't. But Sheriff Mack, well, I guess he'll be more famous than McDonald's Big Mac in my book. He's actually going to be on a talk show tonight, live in Austin at 11 p.m. So. Yep. He competes with you tonight, but I'll tell you what, the cat's out of the bag, and I think it's going to get some PR, and it's all due to you. And I think it'll have some major political ramifications with these sheriffs, especially the ones that Big Mouth said they were against the Brady bill. Well, now the ball is really in their court.
Yeah, they're going to have to prove it now, aren't they?
Yeah, you got one sheriff that knows the Constitution and that says, hey, you guys can't screw with me. We're not going to enforce this Brady bill.
They can't. It's against the Arizona State Constitution, and it's against the United States Constitution.
Correct, Mundo. And when the other, I would measure my sheriff candidate by that rule. I would say, hey, you said you were, for gun ownership. Now, are you going to enforce this Brady bill? Well, let's see how many backpedalers we got, and any constitutionalist should surely turn out the sheriff or support the sheriff in the election. But I think America owes the constitutional, the Bill of Rights people really owe you a debt of gratitude for letting that out.
Well,
may not have got out.
Well, it may not have. That's the truth. And
probably wouldn't have. But yeah, we've been faxing. I'm going to fax gun owners. What do you think of them?
What do you mean?
That Gun Owners of America organization. I'm not too hot on the NRA, but
the NRA is not on our side.
I feel that way too. The gun owners, they sounded a little bit.
Gun Owners Association of America. Listen, don't ask me how they are. Watch what they do.
Well,
listen to what they say.
I'm wondering if these guys are aware of this stuff.
If you don't hear any of them say treason, if you don't hear any of them telling it like it is, then they're not on our side. Simple as that.
I'm talking about informing them and spreading the word. I got some calls from some individuals who I don't even know today that wanted to know more about this. I think it's you're the only one that broke the story. It may never have gotten out of Arizona.
Oh, I got another story I'm going to break right now, as a matter of fact, since we're talking about breaking stories. We have another story to break. I broke the story about the atomic energy people sneaking around north of Snowflake, Arizona, looking for a spot to build an atomic reactor under the guise of building a fish farm. And I'm going to break another story. They plan to start construction and break ground within 60 days, and the completion target date is in 7 years from that date.
What's the difference between a fish farm and a nuclear reactor, Dick? I don't know.
Well, one's got water with fish in it, and the other one's got water with fish living around it, or fish drinking it.
It's a good one, but again, for the third time, thank you, America. Thank you on this. And that Owens thing that you read the other night from that fellow from New York.
Yeah.
I almost feel like faxing him and telling him your Brady bill is in the trash can, and I think it's great. The Brady bill, as far as I've been announcing that the